It's a big holiday here. Maybe you got lost in the shuffle.
Oh,
Huge holiday here. The second,
yeah, I
it's
thought
the
maybe.
Independence.
Yeah, they told me about
Well,
that.
yeah, it's a huge holiday. It's like 8 days off.
No,
But
that's
we do
good.
makeup days here. So yeah, but we do makeup days here. So if we get 8 days off, we have to teach on a Saturday and a Sunday.
Hmm.
So I taught last Sunday. Yeah. So,
Well,
but
okay, so
yeah,
I
I
want
do.
the world to know that this is Professor Paul Madden, and you teach over in China right now. What's the name of
I do. I do.
what's the name of the university?
Southern University of Science and Technology. It's a tech school in Shenzhen, which is in southern China, right across from Hong Kong. This is the considered the Silicon Valley of China. It's an amazing city. It's the most modern city in the world. It's like 14 million people.
And how's the
It's
culture like
so
over
cool.
there? How are the culture? I mean, do you feel it's very, it must be very modern for you to enjoy that kind of a city there.
Well, yeah, Shenzhen is this is my fourth Chinese city. So first I was in Beijing for 3 years between 2010 and 2013.
Mhm.
And Beijing has the history but Shenzhen is a really amazing place because it's almost like a natural social science experiment. Because 50 years ago, this was just a little fishing village. And
Really?
then, China was completely communist. China is really not communist now. They've introduced some market reforms. So they introduced market reforms in 1979, and
Mhm.
they picked this city because it was so far away from Beijing and close to Hong Kong. Hong Kong was a British territory at that time,
Yeah.
so it was more open. So, and this city grew from basically 50,000, and now I think it's 14 or 15 million, and still growing in
Wow.
less than 50 years.
And
So unlike
what?
other Chinese cities, everything's really new. Yeah, it's an amazing city. It's just amazing.
Well, I thought I was far away
And
from. I mean, we're from we're Jersey.
yeah, yeah. So if your students know, yeah, I remember playing backyard pickup football with you in Dave Ivy's house.
We
We're
used to
both
kill each
Yankee
other.
fans. I'm representing. I got my
There you
Yankees.
go.
I remember you were a big Yankees fan.
Oh, still am.
Wasn't your nickname after Goose Gossage?
Yeah, they used to call me the Goose because I was a pitcher. And oh, the good old days, man.
Man, that was a long time. Yeah, you know what I tell my young students? Life is short, man. Seems like yesterday I was just starting college. I'm like, and now I'm getting old, man. My forehead keeps getting longer. But
Now,
it
now,
is what it is, man. Yeah, but
what
it's
what attracted you to
wonderful
go to
living
China?
here.
What attracted you to go to China?
Uh, well, it was a couple things. I My background is in applied linguistics and language teaching, and that it's kind of an interdisciplinary field. But I became interested in cognitive science part, and I started reading articles that learning a new language keeps your brain young. And Alzheimer's runs in my family, so I don't know. Plus, I was kind of curious. I was a little bored. I was teaching at University of Wisconsin. I was a little bored. I wanted to get outside my comfort zone. So I was finishing up my PhD. So I said maybe I'll just do research in China. I'm basically in sociolinguistics. I look at social class and language learning.
Wow, straight
So
draw, man.
I think, yeah, I love learning. You know what I also realized? We got lucky because we went to great schools. We had great teachers, man.
We did.
Especially, yeah, and you're a teacher. I haven't seen you in person in decades, but
Mhm.
I kind of I kind of was inspired by you because you left the private industry to because it felt like you could make a difference. And yeah, in teaching, it's a cliche, but you can make a difference in these kids' lives, man. And
Uh,
I've seen what some of you posted a little while ago about the former students. That's cool, man.
you
But
know,
yeah, so I came out
growing
here.
up
I was doing
at growing up at Mount Olive, we both you and I both went to Mount Olive High School, and
right, right.
I didn't realize how good of a high school that was until I got out of
Yeah.
it. Right now I'm teaching at a high school and I love my students, but boy, oh boy, I wonder if they can, if they would get used to that kind of, because I mean, our teachers were tough on us, you know?
Yeah, well, yeah, we used to call it Mount Olive Penitentiary. It was strict. Who was the business teacher, Gerson or something? You could only go to the
Yeah. Oh,
bathroom
I didn't
twice a
want.
year.
Yeah.
Once once before Christmas, once after, and you can't carry it over. But what if I don't use before Christmas? Can I save two for after Christmas holiday? So yeah, well, the thing about Mount Olive, I think you moved from New York as well, right? So my family moved from New York. So a lot of people moved out to that area just for the better schools. So I didn't realize at the time because I was just a kid, but my father moved from New York to New Jersey
Mhm.
just so we could go to better schools,
Yeah.
and I was, you're a kid, you don't realize, but teaching is great because you get to give back to the young. And I feel these kids keep me young. So yeah, I really enjoy it here.
Yeah.
So
I
what were you going to ask the students?
Well, I just wanted to know from
Yeah.
them exactly how life is like over there in China, what their perception of the United States is, uh, what is expected of them growing up. I mean, I would imagine China is now a world power, and they want to keep it that way. But they're being a world power the right ways. They're not looking for dominance. They're looking to actually,
Right.
better all of humanity, is from what I'm seeing. I'm just so impressed by them. I read the book about Deng, Deng, that Chinese head of state,
Oh, Deng Xiaoping.
Deng Xiaoping. Yeah, I'm just so
Yeah, he was the
amazed
one
by
that
him.
initiated the market reform in this city. So this city is actually like a natural lab. They kind
Mhm,
of let them just do their thing with the market reforms.
mhm.
And there's actually a statue of him here. So he actually
Of course.
changed history. If you look back at China 50 years ago, it was dirt poor. I mean, it was one of the poorest countries in the world. They couldn't even feed their citizens. And you look at the wealth now. You look at the quality of life here,
Mhm.
and the shop. I'll give you an example. I like to tell through stories my points. The difference between U.S. So during COVID, I went back to the U.S. I hadn't been there to visit except for a couple weeks at a time, and they only had flights to San Francisco. So I said, "All right." Normally, I get direct flights, Hong Kong to Newark or JFK. But I said, okay, I've never been to San Francisco, so instead of just taking the connecting flight right away, I'll stay there for like a week. And I
Okay.
was like in Mission District. I don't know. I I just couldn't believe how many homeless people were there. It was just
Yeah.
like legions of homeless, smoking and disorder and mental illness. I'm like, you never see this in China. You barely ever see anything like that. The city here is so clean. I think the biggest reason is the families here are a lot stronger. So I think this is one reason. I see in many ways China has already passed the U.S.
Mhm.
They passed the U.S. a couple of years ago in scientific publications, in inventions, patents,
Let
and
me
I
ask.
think one of the reasons is the work ethic here. So
Let me
yeah,
ask you this,
sure,
Paul. So back in the day, I remember seeing a lot of students from China coming from China to the United States. And
right,
I know Deng Xiaoping
right,
was one of the men who, told the students to go abroad to
yeah.
learn. But is that happening now? Because I don't see as many Chinese university students anymore.
Well, yeah. When I was teaching at the University of Wisconsin, I was mostly teaching ESL writing,
Mhm.
and most of my students are mainland Chinese, but the numbers are way down, especially with Trump.
Yeah.
And it's weird because China's also it's kind of two pronged. It's the economy's become more globalized here, but they've also become more nationalist because of their growing might. So
Mhm.
it used to be where an American degree was, very prestigious, and those people who came back, they call them Haigui, like returning turtles, could
Mhm.
find jobs easy. But now it's kind of the opposite. It's people are more suspicious of them. So yeah, so the number of Chinese students has plummeted. I think it's down like 33% or something. A lot of that even happened before Trump. And the universities here, they this is another difference. In the US, this is basically what I see the US. Maybe I'm simplifying a bit, but basically the US is the 1%. The country is a big racket. It's basically for the 1%. And if you're not rich, what if you want to go to college and you're a working class kid? You
Yeah.
know, you got to take
Right.
out loans. You know how much this is a leading tech university. You know how
Mhm.
much the tuition is?
Probably zero.
For most of the students, it's Well, not zero, but close enough. 6,000 yuan, which is like $900 a year.
Oh
So
my
they're getting a
God.
world-class education. In the US, you would spend more in textbooks. So, if your parents aren't rich in China, you could go to college without graduating with, you see these kids graduate in the US with $100,000 in loans. It's ridiculous.
And do you see
University of
American
California
students
used
going
to
to
be
China?
free.
Do you see American students reverse and going to China to study? Because I mean, it seems like
On
university
the
levels.
Yeah, on the graduate level, you'll see it because China is very obsessed with rankings, those world university rankings. So one of the things on the algorithm is percent international students. So they've switched a lot of the graduate programs in STEM, especially to English.
Hmm.
So some foreigners can go. I've seen the programs in Chinese; they're going to have problems. So
Mm.
yeah, you're seeing more undergraduates on all, not just from the US, because they have the Belt and Road Initiative. So you're seeing students from India, Pakistan,
Hmm.
Kazakhstan, all over, all over.
Oh, that's
So
fantastic.
yeah, I mean the universities here are great. They're pumping so much. When it's kind of sad because I'm American, obviously, and I still care about what goes on back. But I see Trump just cutting the budget for science, and like without science, you can't fight the future. And here they're pouring money into the universities. I mean, pouring money into the scientific research. And if you see the technology here, it's amazing. It's
Uh,
amazing.
I,
I think in the
I,
US we've lost in the US, I think we've lost the sense of the common good.
mhm.
Like people say, universities should be run like a business. No, it should be running for the common good and it should help
Mhm.
everybody and it should be affordable for all. It shouldn't be just for the rich people, you
I
know.
fully
But
agree.
this is what I would tell the young generation, like the kids you teach. My first summer when I came back, my mother's like, "What's China like?" And I said, "It's Darwinian in the sense that
Hmm.
the competition here is fierce, man.
Hmm.
It's it's fierce because now you have all these kids graduating from college, and the average college student here is. I mean, I taught at University of Wisconsin. The average college student in China is so much more advanced, especially in STEM, than the
Hmm.
average American student, and so the competition here is fierce for university positions, for jobs, professional jobs. So these kids, there's no holistic admissions here for college, like in the US. I was captain of the football team, and here it's basically a Gaokao, they call it the high test. And these kids spend their childhood just focused on that test. So they're obsessed with testing.
Let me
So
ask
it's
you
just
this. You were
yeah, they don't
captain
they
of the
don't get
football
much.
team? You were
Yeah,
captain of
sure.
the football team? Which football team?
No, no, I got kicked off for missing practice. So yeah, I
Oh
was
my.
never captain of the football team. I
Oh, I
actually,
thought you.
I actually got kicked off for missing practice.
Oh, okay.
No, I was just giving that as an example of,
Yeah.
in the US they have holistic admissions, right? Where
Yeah.
they look at different things, but they look at different things besides, just test scores. But in China, it's pretty much just your test scores.
Hmm.
And if you don't go to an elite university or your parents don't have connections, it's going to be hard to compete in the labor market here.
Hmm.
So, a lot of a lot of their childhood is just geared towards that test. So there's tremendous
Hmm.
pressure here, stress, because
Hmm.
these kids are always competing. And when you're always competing, it can get stressful. So these kids are under a tremendous amount of stress here when it comes to the testing, but they study their ass off.
Oh,
So,
really?
the stereotype is kind of true. Uh, I'll give you an example. My first Friday when in 2013, when I moved to Beijing, I walked by the student dorms. It was a Friday night. You could hear a pin drop. Like, no drinking,
No
I went to
way.
Ohio State, on Friday nights. You know what Ohio State was like? Plus, it was football
Party.
season. Oh, man, it was just mad, raucous parties. Like, you could hear these people from 10 kilometers away. And here they're like studying linear algebra. So
Mhm.
they don't get as much as they don't get as much as the social life because it's so competitive here. So the same with the high schools. So talking to your kids, I think in the US, I think that's somewhat of an advantage. I think they can in the US you can develop more of a social life and you can socialize more.
Hmm.
I think that's an advantage though, because I think a lot of these kids, they just spend their life studying. And you get them here and like you do Toastmasters, right? I think I've seen you
Yeah,
uh
no, not anymore.
post about Toast.
Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah, but I yeah, that's cool because part of what I teach is public speaking for science. So I'm like,
Mhm.
no, you guys, science, you got to give up and give presentations. You want your master's degree, you got to give it. You want your because most of these students go to graduate school.
Oh,
It's
okay.
like you want to get your PhD. It's a 45-minute presentation.
Mhm.
You got to present at conferences. So getting them to do presentations. The first time they're like
Uh,
shaking. So because they're not used to public speaking. But even when I was back in the US, you see, I've seen a change in the generations. I think these electronic devices they do have an effect on the brain. So, I don't know, but I always tell these kids, like, you need social skills, man. You need to be able to give a speech, you need to be able to pass an interview.
mhm.
These are skills that everyone needs.
Oh, I can imagine. So, do you speak Mandarin?
I speak broken Mandarin.
Okay.
So, which is actually, what's one good about being a second language learner? It gave me a whole new empathy when I go back. One of the reasons I think I got into this, my grandparents on my mother's side are from Nicaragua, right? So they were native Spanish speakers.
Okay.
And my grandmother never really learned English. And back then, the racism was even worse. When I hear people say
Hmm.
how bad the racism, go back like in 1940s Brooklyn when my grandparents were, my grandmother could barely speak a word of English. And
Hmm.
people would be like, go back to your fucking country. You can't speak the language. Kind of like the old Andrew Dice Clay. Remember,
Oh
you don't
yeah.
speak the language. Get the fuck out of the country. But that was real back then. People would say that. And she became so self-conscious about her lack of English. She just became a shut-in and a clean freak. So all she did was clean. So I saw, and I realized when I came here and I couldn't really communicate, when you don't speak the language, it's really tough, man, because you're an outsider. I mean, you don't speak the language. It's hard. Now they have translation apps, but when I first came here, I
Hmm.
was basically I was on. I went to go buy yogurt, milk, and it was
Hmm.
yogurt because I couldn't read the Chinese.
Of course.
Yeah, it gives me empathy for all the immigrants that are back in the U.S., like my grandmother.
Hmm.
How struggling because if you don't learn a language as a child, it's really difficult, especially an unrelated language.
Yeah.
So, it gave me a whole new empathy if I go back to the US and I see people struggling, try to work full time and learn a language. It's not easy. So it gave me I remember my first summer back, some guy was ordering at the Starbucks and the lady couldn't understand him. And she wasn't rude. She didn't say what, excuse me. And I was like, oh my God, that's me in China. Like sometimes people can't understand me. So it's actually, I think, been humanizing and humbling. I think we all need to be humbled sometimes,
Let
and
me ask
it
you
gives
this:
you a whole
Where do
new
you see
empathy. And I think,
China? Where do you see China in, like, say, 20 years? I mean, you're teaching that generation that's going to eventually take over. So where do you see your
yeah.
students in 20 years, and what would they be doing?
Oh, they're already more than halfway there. They're gonna dominate science, technology, the wealth. But I don't know. There's challenges that no one knows, and this is not just unique to China. I think China can manage this easier. Who knows what's going to happen? We're in uncharted waters with the AI, so who knows?
Yeah.
But I think let's say AI causes massive the AI development here is amazing. You saw that DeepSeek, how they developed it so quickly.
Yeah.
So the tech here is just cutting edge, especially here in Shenzhen. So I see China, especially, and Tsinghua University, which is the top university here, just overtook MIT for top-rated computer science. So the
Really?
technology here is
Whoa.
amazing. And
Wow.
yeah, Tsinghua University, where I taught actually for 3 years. But I'm not really a professor, I'm a lecturer. So I always tell my students, they're like, what's the difference? I say about 4 times the pay. I get 25 because they're doing research, right? Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So I tell people, actually, I'm not a professor, I'm a lecturer, which basically means I don't have to publish to keep my job. I'm basically just teaching. We
Okay.
have 3 times or 4 times the teaching load and a quarter of the pay. But you know why? Because those world university rankings are
Hmm.
mostly based on publications.
Yeah.
So, but I was teaching at Tsinghua, but only as a lecturer. Yeah, way down on the totem pole. So, that university, is so hard to get into. You got to have basically like top. The Gaokao score is pretty much the only thing. You basically got to be in like a top decimal percentage of the
Mhm.
total test scores.
Oh,
So I see China overtaking the US and already in some ways in tech, especially they're obsessed with it. You watch the news here,
hmm
state-run media, and that's all they talk about, like Kaji Chuanshin, science and technology, and they stress it. And like this university is all STEM majors. They don't have English or history. They just all STEM.
Wow, a whole
They're so
university
obsessed with
just for
STEM.
STEM research or STEM
Yep,
studies.
yep, yep.
Wow.
I mean, Tsinghua is a comprehensive university, but this is one advantage maybe the American universities have. An American university, you can kind of pick your major. Here. Basically, you're locked in
Yeah.
by your Gaokao scores.
Mhm.
So, I had some people that were English majors at Tsinghua. So Tsinghua is comprehensive. They have everything, but they didn't want to be English majors. They wanted to be electrical engineering or something or computer science, but
Mhm.
their score was a little too low. So yeah, I see the U.S. is facing serious problems. You know what's great about living abroad? You outside your own country, so you can actually see your own country with clear eyes. The
Wow.
U.S. is going to face serious problems with AI. I think when we have unemployment in the U.S., the rich people in the U.S. will not voluntarily cede their wealth, but here because the government can redistribute wealth easier. Because I think Marx predicted this 150 years ago, where technology will reach a point where not even want to have a full-time job. So I don't know what it's going to be like in 10 or 15 years or 20 years, but I think,
Mhm.
people are going to work part-time or maybe there'll be a guaranteed basic income. But I think China will be able to take that transition easier because
Mhm.
there's more emphasis on the public good. Whereas in the US, it's pretty much every man for himself. The US is what they call, economists call basically a winner take all society.
Yes.
And it pains me to watch what's going on back there. It's
hmm
yeah, it's because I see the U.S. not being able to compete with China, not
hmm
you know, especially cutting the science budget, and they're making it harder for the STEM students to go to the U.S. Do you know if
Yeah.
you go to Silicon Valley, how many of those startups and how many of the guys writing the code and doing the AI are
They're
foreign
all
born,
H-1
either
visa
from
students.
China or India, but
Yeah. They're
yeah,
H-1
yeah.
visa.
And if
hmm
I remember when I was at Wisconsin, even though I was teaching English, I had a I had a room in the computer science building, and just at least half those professors at UW Madison, a top 20 computer science program, at least half of those were foreign born. At least half. That's a conservative estimate. So I think you're taking off a huge pipeline of people because of the
hmm
xenophobia. The problem with the U.S. is this: populism in and of itself is not a bad thing, but
hmm
in the U.S., they don't look where the rich people and the corporations that are screwing them over. They look at some Mexican guys coming in. The Mexicans are the hardest working people. I love I'm half Nicaraguan. I love the Mexican
hmm
people, man.
I
You
do
know,
too.
they only come here to work, man.
Yeah.
They only come to work. And now I'm an immigrant myself. You
hmm
know, I don't call myself an expat. I don't. Expat sounds kind of snobby. Some of
hmm
the people here, I'm an expat. Well, I'm not. I'm an immigrant because immigrant sounds more working. No, I'm an immigrant. I have no plans to go back to the U.S. I'm an immigrant, so I can emphasize with people who move to different places. Most of the Hispanics are big on family, and they just want a better life for their kids. And I think
Of
if you
course.
take that away, those people,
Mhm.
those people that are so hardworking and want to build their family and a better life, I think that's a weakness for the U.S. You know,
Well,
so
racism
yeah, and
still exists
China's
here.
making it easier. Yeah, I don't know, man. It's kind of sad. Look what's going on back there. I tell people this. Growing up in the New York media market, I remember watching Trump when I was in high school.
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
was always a publicity hound. I was like, this guy's full of shit.
Mhm.
I'm the richest man in New York.
No,
No,
you're
you're
not.
not. My building is the highest built. No, it's not. Like
No, it's
stuff
not.
that is so yeah, stuff that's so easily disproven. He just and when he first came on the national scene, I was like, no way is people gonna fall for this guy. He's a snake oil salesman. He's a
Yeah.
carnival barker. And and maybe this sounds elitist, but I'm kind of like, wow, how could you fall for this guy? He's a con man.
They do.
And now I see him leading the country, and he's taken in Trump can't compete with China. You need someone. The thing with this Chinese leader, Xi Jinping, he has a very long-term vision. And I think this is a weakness in American government as well as American corporations. They don't look long-term, everything's short-term. Whereas China's more like the long game. So, they're looking at the long game. So this is why they're so much in the science and technology and the common good. Like this city, you walk around and it's just, like you see research about greenery, how greenery benefits mental and physical health, that even correlated with lower crime rates. It's just amazing here. And then you go to the US and everything's breaking down. It's kind of sad. So I mean, this is what I'd say to your students. If they ever get a chance, come to China. It's a wonderful place.